Mr. Eggplant presents.
Hey guys, Tyler here, and thank you for checking out this video. And I'm back here on the War Within Beta, and we're finally talking about Dark Ranger today. So in this video, we're going to be looking at single target Dark Ranger. I have a talent build for you, an opener, and a rotation. And then we're going to do a comparison to the same exact build as a Sentinel Marksman Hunter. That way we can see how the damage profile differs, and also just flat out which one does more damage. There will be timestamps to each section down in the description of the video, and there should be an AoE or a Mythic Plus version of this build or video down there as well. And then finally, any talent builds that are highlighted in this video, their strings will be down in the description as well. And this will probably be the last time I post any beta content, since the pre-patch will be here in about 9 days. And then I just want to say thank you guys for continuing to support me here on YouTube, and I hope you guys will like and subscribe, and be sure and leave me a comment down below. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first section. So really briefly, let's look at Dark Ranger. So that's one of two options between Dark Ranger and Sentinel. One does shadow damage, one does arcane. You get Black Arrow added to your kit, and this was an ability that used to be survival only, and it's an 18-second dot that does shadow damage. And then just like back in Cataclysm and in Dragon Soul, every time it ticks, it has a chance to do the thing. And the thing this expansion is to give you a charge of aim shot and reduce its cast time by 50%. Other abilities in the tree are going to increase the damage of your two main abilities, being aim shot and rapid fire, by 15%, have a chance to summon shadow hounds, and then also to give you death blow every time you use your Black Arrow. And death blow, it doesn't have to be talented, and it just gives you a kill shot that you can use on any target regardless of their health. You can also have a little bit of focus regeneration whenever you reset the cooldown of an ability with Black Arrow. And then the last couple that I'm going to highlight is just doing more shadow damage, 10% more for both you and your pet. And then finally, when True Shot is active, Black Arrow deals its damage 50% faster. I left that one at the end because it kind of ties into my feedback. So my feedback for Dark Ranger from the beta so far is there's a lot more aim shots. You get more out, or you should say you get more charges with Dark Ranger, but you don't have enough focus or good focus regeneration to spend them, which definitely feels kind of bad, in particular during True Shot, where you kind of have a log jam, because since you don't need them, since you're going to get plenty of rapid fires and aim shots during True Shot anyway. The other abilities is just, honestly, the tree just doesn't do enough damage. Like the Shadow Hounds are only doing like 1.5, maybe 2% of your total damage, and a lot of the others is pretty low in comparison to the Sentinel side of things, where you have abilities that are going to be doing, 4, 5, 6% of your total damage, and they're all completely passive. And then I'll be honest, the marksman side of the trees just need help. There's a ton of abilities in here that are 2 points that don't need to be 2 points. They should just be 1. And then there's abilities in the tree that you honestly shouldn't be spending points to make the ability do the thing it's always done in previous expansions. Both versions of Marksman Hunter suffer from this, but Dark Ranger definitely feels it more than Sentinel does, since Sentinel has all that extra passive damage. So that's kind of my thoughts so far. I really like to see them condense a lot of these abilities. If they would just make some of these 1 points instead of 2, and then they wouldn't lock some of these abilities behind other abilities. For example, like Volley. If you want to run with Volley, you have to pick Serpent Stalker's Trickery or Chimera Shot. Chimera Shot's 2-target cleave. Serpent Stalker's Trickery is technically AoE, I guess, if you just, spray it around at that point. But it just doesn't make sense to have some of these abilities stuck behind the ones that they currently are. So if they would move some of these abilities around, we might see some more Dark Ranger play. But we'll look at the damage, and I'll let you guys make that choice. So, alright, so that's kind of my initial thoughts on Dark Ranger. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a single target opener, rotation, and of course build. So like I was looking at, this is the build, and this build will be found down in the description of the video. The main goals for the build was to get Legacy of the Windrunners, Wailing Arrow, and Readiness, and then also True Shot and Augmented all 3 times with Eagle Talons, with Calling the Shots, and then also Unerring Vision. And oh, I forgot to mention, one of the biggest drawbacks is that it works in single target, but in AoE, you can't pick the Dark Ranger's signature ability, being Wailing Arrow and Readiness, without sacrificing both Calling the Shots or Eagle Talons and salvo. So it really, really hurts, and it's really unfortunate that you can't even use Wailing Arrow in the build and in the flavor that they want you to, which was kind of how Shadowlands worked, unfortunately. Or I should say Dragonflight worked, where you didn't really pick Wailing Arrow. All right, now let's look at the actual opener and rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Hunter's Mark, and then I'm going to go Explosive Shot, and then Black Arrow, and then I'm going to use my Kill Shot. After that, we're going to use my True Shot macro and go Rapid Fire, Aim Shot, Rapid Fire, since it's going to give us Wailing Arrow, and then it's going to allow us to shoot another, or it's going to lower the cooldown of Rapid Fire, and then you can just bounce back between the two. Outside of your True Shot window, you'll just use everything on cooldown. Whenever you get a Black Arrow, you want to always follow it up with that Kill Shot, and anytime you get Kill Shot, use it, send it. Like that's like priority number one. And yes, during True Shot, you don't get any value from your tier bonuses, both the 2 or 4 set, which feels really bad. I hope they will get that changed before this does go live. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at that opener. I'll go about 210 or so, and then we'll switch over and reload for Sentinel. All right, so we got to about 645k there. So let's go ahead and let everything come off of cooldown, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same rotation, minus, of course, Black Arrow as a Sentinel Marksman Hunter. All right, and so just so we're showing, so I'm now just a Sentinel Marksman Hunter, and I have literally the exact same build as I did in just a second ago. So now the opener would look something like this. I'm going to go ahead and use my Hunter's Mark and then Explosive Shot, and I'm immediately going to go True Shot into Rapid Fire, into Aim Shot, and then I'm just going to bounce back and forth just like I did with the other build. And then you're just going to keep using Rapid Fire and Aim Shot as much as possible whenever you're in your True Shot, and then after that you're going to just send everything on cooldown like we've done previously. And of course, if you get any Kill Shot procs, be sure and use those ASAP. Alright, so we're about 738k or so. Unfortunately for these videos, Sentinel is going to keep proccing on that for a bit, so I'm going to have to wait just a second to see if I can get far enough away to feign so we can look at the cut comparison, if you will. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our damage comparison. So up first, this is going to be the damage we did as a Dark Ranger Marksman Hunter. And for Dark Ranger, it was typical that I saw between 550k on the low end and then up to around 650k on the high end. So this is actually a really good opener for us in an extended rotation. So you're going to see most of your damage coming from aim shot and rapid fire, which we would expect, and then Wailing Arrow, Kill Shot, and Master Marksman. And Wailing Arrow should, in theory, be doing more damage for us as a Dark Ranger than it would for Sentinel, since we were doing 10% more shadow damage. We have some of our other abilities in our tree. Withering Fire doing 3.7%. We have Black Arrow doing 3.1%. And then Dark Hound, for example, is all the way down here at 2.0. So those are all just a chance on hit, like the Dark Hound. You could feast or famine on that one. It's a 10% chance. And then this is this is a pretty good pull, I'd say, for Dark Ranger. I saw some really good kill shot damage. We got what, 8 of those that came out there. The average damage that they did was 821k. So definitely saw some good kill shot damage on our Dark Ranger. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our damage for Sentinel. All right, so now let's look at Sentinel. So with Sentinel, let's look at we got some good damage there as well. We actually kind of got lucky with an extra kill shot or two that I would have not normally expected. But we got an average of 874k on our kill shots, and then the passive damage that we get from Sentinel is here. So Lunar Storm did 13% of our damage, and then you have Sentinel itself doing 7.5%. So we have a lot more varied abilities in our top 5. So it pushes Wailing Arrow down here, which did a little bit less than the Dark Ranger counterpart. And then our dot from Master Marksman every time we crit was actually all the way down at 8. After that, it kind of falls off pretty hard here. There isn't any other extra damage that we wouldn't already have, or that wouldn't be shared with our Dark Ranger build. But Lunar Storm and Sentinel are completely passive, so it doesn't change your rotation at all. In fact, it streamlines it because you're passively doing damage and you're not having to add an extra GCD every 30 seconds to do it. Do keep in mind as well, I forgot to mention, Crescent Steel, for example, with Sentinel is only applicable when the target is below 20% health. So we weren't even getting value out of this ability in that opener rotation. So as you can see, you did 712k. We did just under 650k on a good pull with Dark Ranger. So it's about a 10%, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's probably right at about 10% difference. It's much more streamlined for Sentinel, and then for Dark Ranger, you just have to work a little bit harder for it. I would love to see Dark Ranger played more, but currently you can't beat completely passive damage that's just going to only increase your damage with Sentinel. You don't have to, you can min-max it, don't get me wrong, but you don't have to min-max things. You can mess your rotation up and still do some pretty good damage. I know that my rotation was not perfect in the last section. But what do you guys think? Have you guys tried Dark Ranger here on the beta? Are you looking forward to at least giving it a go when pre-patch hits here in about 9 days? Be sure and leave me some feedback down below. I always appreciate chatting with you guys. Thank you once again for supporting me here for another expansion, and I'll see you next time.